Welcome to Perfect Scores Premium TV. This is another video on GMAT Verbal, and this is part of the module for Introduction and Basic Strategies. This particular video is going to focus on the strategies for reading comprehension, and before this you should have done the video on introduction, on sentence correction, and on critical reasoning. After this we'll be starting with sentence correction. So if you want to write us a mail or give us some valuable feedback, you can do that at perfectscores89@gmail.com. And please visit and like our Facebook page and also visit our website perfect-scores.com. So let's get started with reading comprehension, and as told in the basic introduction video, you can get around 13 to 15 questions on reading comprehension. You're expected to spend around 4 minutes on reading the passage. That's an approximate value, could be less or more than that. And ideally you should be able to do a question in 1.5 minutes. So what you'll be getting in reading comprehension in the actual test will be 4 passages. Usually you will get 2 long passages and 2 short, but that's not the written rule, and you may get all the 4 long passages as well. So you should be prepared for that situation also. And in those 4 passages, you do not need any kind of knowledge, because no prior knowledge is required or expected or has to be used. Even if you know something about the topic on which the passage is given, you are not supposed to use that outside knowledge. And the topics of your reading comprehension could vary from sociology and humanities to business, literature, arts, and economics. So it could be anything from anywhere, and you're not supposed to have any knowledge. You have to answer questions based on what is given in the passage. And usually the questions are based on inference. That means they'll be little tough to crack, not very easy questions. You can't just go to a sentence and find out the answer and come back and select the option. You will need to think one step beyond what is written and then solve most of the questions. So coming to the basic strategy of how to do the reading comprehension passage and the questions. So first of all, what you need to do is read the passage. Since you can't edit the answers, you can't skip the answers, so there is no way that you'll be able to read the questions first and then go to the passage. So the best way is you read the passage, spend around 4 minutes on that passage. That means roughly from 2 to maximum of 6 minutes. And then what you have to do side by side is make a passage map. That's another word for notes. Just take down some notes on the passage, what it mentions paragraph wise, and that is your passage map. Now using that, you have to read the question, and this is the most important part of your strategy to predict the answer using your passage map and using the knowledge that you have from the passage given in front of you. Predict your own answer and then follow POE. And POE is nothing but the process of elimination, because it's much easier to eliminate wrong answers than to find out the correct one out of 5. Right, so that is the process of elimination. You eliminate all the options that do not match with your prediction, and that is how you do the reading comprehension. So what are the common wrong answer types that you get in reading comprehension? An option that is not given in the passage. So that is totally based on external knowledge. If it's not given, that means it's the wrong answer. Second is extreme ones. This we've also done in critical reasoning. Usually the answer options that have words like none, never, always, must. These are the extreme answer types, and usually these are wrong. Then you have options that are out of scope. For example, the passage is talking about demand of a particular product, and the option talks about cost of that particular product. So that would be totally out of scope. Then you have answers that are in the wrong location. That means, let's suppose the question talks about the purpose of paragraph number 2, and the option talks about the purpose of paragraph number 1, or it talks about the whole passage. Now, although the option would actually be correct, it's not the answer to that particular question, so it would be a wrong answer. And then you have options that are totally irrelevant. So you are talking about USA and the option talks about some other part of the world, or that talks about some other factors affecting the country. That would be totally irrelevant. So all these are usually the wrong answers. I wouldn't say 100% of the times, but yes, 99.99% of the times these are all the wrong options. So at once, if you find these kind of options, you can eliminate them and focus on the remaining options. So how to use your scratch paper? I'll tell you how you have to use your scratch paper. You ideally need to divide your scratch paper into two parts. On this part, you'll be taking down some rough notes. Paragraph wise, paragraph 1, paragraph 2, and paragraph 3, let us suppose. Here you have the question. This is where you'll be predicting your answer, and it's very important to write down whatever is going in your mind, write down whatever prediction you have so that it stays there in front of your eyes. If you try to keep that prediction in your mind, it will certainly vanish or become diluted. You'll not be sure of that again, and you'll have to read the passage again. But once you've predicted an answer, put it down on paper, go through the options, eliminate the ones that you think are totally wrong, and once you're down to one option, select that as your answer. So, how to make a passage map? Follow these points. You need to focus on main points. No need to focus on detailed examples. No need to focus on the minor points. Just focus on the main points. Your notes should be able to give a gist of the passage. That means it should not be too less, otherwise it will not be helpful, and neither should it be too extreme or too excessive. That means your notes should be ideally not too much, not too less, otherwise it will not be helpful or useful to have a scratch paper. Use a lot of short forms and symbols. You can use different arrows, therefore, but, something about numbers. You can use short forms for example. A lot of things you can do, and you're free to use whatever short forms or symbols you want to use. And the most important thing, your passage map should be clear. It should not be confusing to read even when you are reading it yourself, and it should be concise. That means you have to use short forms because you don't have so much time that you can write an entire summary of a passage. You have to write everything in short. So let's try this out. If you want, you can pause the video and you can go ahead and try to make a passage map on your own. But we'll go ahead and try this out. And why I've underlined this word furthermore is these words are really important. Words like because, yet, and, thus, while, although, despite. All these are really important words. So let's start reading. It says certain chemical messengers, such as transmitters, are formed from dietary constituents, serve as chemical precursors. So what we'll just write is that paragraph 1 tells us that dietary constituents help in forming transmitters, and these dietary constituents serve as chemical precursors. And then it says, furthermore, studies have shown one can change consumption of precursors to alter release of their transmitter products. So basically the gist is that these chemical precursors are basically parts of our diet, and they help to form the transmitters. So coming back to paragraph 2, it says myelin, the transmitter that serves as a message carrier between nerves and muscle cells, is formed from lin. So L helps to form M. So this one is L and this one is M. A common constituent in fish, liver and eggs. Now this kind of information you can leave out of your notes. Fish, liver and eggs. You don't need to write that. It's not an example. If you get a question on that, you can come down. But the basic gist is that this is an example which is being given. L helps us to form M, and therefore that the consumption of these foods will carry the same components, aid the body's production of this particular messenger. So basically the same thing, that we can alter our diet and then alter our diet in things that contain this L, that is line, and then we can change the amount of meline that is present in us. Alright, so this is your passage map. If you see, it is very concise and it is very clear. You can easily make out what the two paragraphs are talking about, and it is so much shorter. So if you get a question like what is the primary purpose, you can easily say that the first paragraph talks about how chemical precursors are helpful in forming the transmitters and how the diet plays a role, and the second paragraph talks about one particular example. So that is how your passage map should look like. So remember, this is the last video of your introduction module. These are the few things that we have covered in sentence correction. You need to know the errors. You need to practice to be able to identify these errors. Beware of the traps. Use the process of elimination. Use splitting and resplitting. In critical reasoning, you need to remember how to find out the parts of an argument to predict what the answer is going to do, and then apply process of elimination. And finally, in reading comprehension, you need to practice a lot on making the passage map, predict your answer based on the questions, and then the process of elimination. And the most important thing, always take care and start using your scratch paper from day one of your GMAT preparation. Initially, don't focus too much on time. Try to get the questions right no matter how much time you take. Focus on accuracy first and then on time. And once when you're done with a lot of practice for accuracy, then you need to start your pacing. So this is how your preparation should go side by side. Use scratch paper always. Focus on accuracy, then time, and also take care of pacing. So that was all for this module. The next module is specifically devoted to sentence correction, and the videos will be based on the different errors and how you can solve questions more effectively. Thank you so much for watching this video.